It was a cold autumn evening in Los Angeles when Elon Musk crossed paths with a 5-year-old girl who was all alone on a bus. What happened next is something that will surely melt your heart. It was an ordinary Wednesday. Elon was in town for a string of important meetings regarding his latest venture, something to do with advanced neural networks, no doubt. He had just wrapped up a particularly long day at the SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne. Instead of taking his usual private transport back, something in him prompted him to take the city bus. It had been years since he last experienced such an ordinary mode of travel, and on that day, he found himself surrounded by the hum of everyday life. As the bus made its way through the busy streets, Elon noticed something that caught his eye. Amid the passengers sitting alone in the corner was a small girl, her face pale, her eyes wide with uncertainty. She couldn't have been more than 5 years old. What was she doing there alone in the bustling city? Elon felt an instinctive tug at his heart. Little did he know, this would be the beginning of a journey that would change not only the little girl's life but his own as well. As the bus rumbled through the streets of Los Angeles, Elon couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that had settled in his chest. He glanced again at the little girl, her small figure hunched on the seat, clutching her backpack tightly. There was something about her vulnerability that struck a chord with him. No one else seemed to notice her, or if they did, they didn't care. Elon's mind raced. How could this child be on a bus all alone? Was she lost? Was she in danger? His fatherly instincts kicked in immediately. He stood up, his heart pounding, and slowly made his way over to her. The girl looked up at him with a mixture of curiosity and fear. Her big brown eyes met his, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. Elon knelt down beside her, his voice soft but filled with concern. "Hey there, are you okay?" he asked gently. The little girl didn't answer at first. She looked around as if unsure whether to trust him. After a few moments of silence, she finally whispered, "I'm lost. I don't know where my mommy is." Elon's heart sank. This was no ordinary day. This was a moment that would define the course of the evening, and perhaps the lives of both of them. Elon's heart raced as he processed what the little girl had just said. Maddie, that was her name. Lost and alone in a city full of strangers, with no one around to help. He could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him, and without hesitation, he knew what he had to do. "Don't worry, Maddie," Elon said, his voice calm but firm. "We're going to find your mom. You're safe now." He stood up, scanning the bus for the driver. The elderly man at the front was still focused on the road, but Elon's quick glance caught his attention. He walked up to the driver, who looked back at him, puzzled. "I need you to stop the bus," Elon said urgently. "This little girl is lost, and we need help right away." The bus driver, an older man with graying hair and kind eyes, immediately understood the gravity of the situation. He nodded and pulled over to the curb, his hands trembling slightly as he picked up the radio to call for assistance. While the driver made the call, Elon turned back to Maddie, who was now sitting with her head in her hands. Her little body trembled. It was clear that she was frightened, not just by the confusion of being lost, but by the uncertainty of what was to come next. "I'm going to stay with you, Maddie," Elon reassured her, sitting beside her on the seat. "Everything's going to be okay." Within minutes, a squad car pulled up beside the bus. Officer Parker, a young and reassuring figure, stepped out of the car and walked toward the bus. His calm demeanor and warm smile immediately put Maddie at ease. Officer Parker knelt down beside Maddie, his voice soft and kind. "Hey there, sweetheart, I'm Officer Parker. We're going to find your mommy, okay?" Maddie nodded but didn't speak. She was still too shaken by the ordeal. Elon, who had been quietly watching the exchange, could see the small cracks in her brave exterior. Her hands, once clutching her backpack with determination, now rested limply in her lap. "Do you know where your mom might be?" Officer Parker asked, his tone gentle as he sat next to Maddie. She shook her head. "I don't know. I was with her, and then she went away. I didn't know what to do." Elon exchanged a glance with Officer Parker, who immediately began contacting the station to send out a broadcast, giving a description of the little girl. The bus driver, who had been watching the scene unfold, offered to help in any way he could, making sure that Maddie remained calm and comfortable as they waited. But as the minutes passed, Elon knew that the situation was more urgent than it appeared. He looked at Maddie, her eyes searching for reassurance, and decided then and there that he wasn't just going to sit by and wait for things to unfold. He needed to help. "I know how scary this is," Elon said softly, "but you're not alone anymore. We're all going to help you find your mom." The officer nodded in agreement, and within moments, a second police unit arrived to assist with the search. Maddie's face lit up with a spark of hope. Her mom was out there, and now, with the help of these kind strangers, she wasn't alone anymore. The air in the bus was thick with anticipation as Officer Parker and his team continued their search. Elon sat quietly beside Maddie, watching her slowly start to calm down as she clutched his hand for reassurance. Every now and then, he glanced out the window, hoping to see a familiar face rushing toward the bus, Maddie's mother, who he prayed would appear soon. And then, just as the tension reached its peak, the radio crackled to life. Officer Parker's face broke into a relieved smile as he listened intently. Maddie's mother had been located. She was just a few blocks away, frantic and looking for her daughter. With the news, a wave of relief washed over everyone. Maddie's face lit up like the brightest star as she let out a small, relieved sigh. Mommy's coming," she whispered, almost as if she couldn't believe it herself. Officer Parker quickly stood, motioning for the bus driver to continue. The small group of officers followed Maddie's mother's description, and within minutes, a woman in her early 30s, frazzled and teary-eyed, appeared in the distance. She was walking briskly, her eyes scanning the crowd, desperate for any sign of her daughter. As they reached each other, Maddie's mother's face transformed from fear to pure joy. The two embraced tightly, tears streaming down both of their faces. Elon stood back, giving them space but feeling a warmth in his heart. This was the moment he had hoped for, the reunion that made everything worth it. But he didn't stop there. Elon stepped forward, gently placing a hand on Maddie's mother's shoulder. "I'm so glad you two found each other," he said softly. "But I can see that things haven't been easy for you. If there's anything I can do to help, anything at all, I want you to know that I'm here." The woman looked up at him, still in shock, but filled with gratitude. She had no words, only a deep, overwhelmed smile as she realized what Elon was offering. She had been struggling for a long time, trying to make ends meet and keep her little girl safe. Now, she didn't feel so alone. The bus had emptied, and only a few officers remained, ensuring that Maddie and her mother were safely on their way. Elon, still standing beside them, could see the exhaustion in Maddie's mother's eyes. She had been through so much, and yet here she was, holding her daughter close, no longer lost in the crowd but found, reunited, and safe. Elon couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was more than just a fleeting act of kindness. It was the beginning of something bigger, something that could change their lives forever. "I know this might sound like a lot to take in right now," Elon said, his voice steady and sincere, "but I want to help. I can provide you both with a home, somewhere safe, where you don't have to worry about where you're going to sleep or how to make ends meet. You deserve peace and security." Maddie's mother stared at him, her face a mixture of disbelief and wonder. She had never expected anything like this. "But I don't even know how to repay you. We've been struggling for so long." Her voice trailed off as she looked down at Maddie, who was now smiling brightly, her hand tightly holding her mother's. "You don't have to repay me," Elon replied gently. "This is about providing stability, a chance for you and Maddie to build a better future. You've been through enough, and I want to help give you both the support you deserve." The woman's eyes filled with tears once again, but this time they were tears of gratitude. She had never imagined that someone like Elon Musk, someone with so much power and wealth, would extend such a hand to her. But here he was, offering more than just charity. He was offering hope. "I don't know what to say," she whispered, shaking her head, still overwhelmed. "You don't have to say anything," Elon smiled. "Just take the help, and know that you're not alone anymore." As they stood there, the city lights flickering in the distance, it was clear that this small act of kindness had set something much larger in motion, a ripple of hope that would affect their lives forever. The night had fallen quietly over Los Angeles, but in that moment everything felt different. The city, with all its noise and rush, seemed to fade away as Elon, Maddie, and her mother stood together, a trio bound not by circumstance, but by the undeniable power of kindness. As Elon watched them walk away, he felt a sense of fulfillment that went far beyond any achievement in his career. In that brief encounter, he had witnessed something profound, the way one small act of compassion could transform a life. The look on Maddie's mother's face as she realized she wouldn't have to worry about where they would sleep that night. That was what mattered most. But it didn't stop there. The ripple effect of kindness would continue long after the night had ended. Maddie, who had once been lost and alone, would now grow up knowing that there were people in the world who cared. Her mother, burdened with the weight of uncertainty, would have the stability she needed to begin again. Elon turned back to the bus, a smile tugging at his lips. What had started as a random decision to take the bus had turned into an experience that would forever change him too. In a world where headlines often focused on the biggest business deals and groundbreaking innovations, this moment of human connection had reminded him of something just as important: the simple, life-changing power of showing up for one another. As the bus pulled away, Elon watched the lights of the city blur into the night, feeling a deep sense of peace. This was what truly mattered: the impact we have on others when we choose to make a difference. And for Maddie and her mother, a new chapter was just beginning.